Hey there, guys. So today I wanted to talk about the elections and the fact that Donald Trump was elected president, and the mistakes I hope he doesn't make. Um, and as I talk about this, you'll probably understand what I mean. And it's kind of weird. I have to figure out how to word this, but I'll start from my personal experience in the military and as a child. One of the conversations I remember distinctly having with my mother was how my grandmother had played that favoritism with my mother and her sisters and brothers. My mother probably had around 5 or 6 brothers and sisters, and my grandmother played that favoritism role, which is a big problem. It's a big problem, I think, in families, and I've seen it, how ugly it can be and how many problems it can cause. And my mother was the type of person that really affected. And my mother had told me an instance where my grandmother favored her younger sister, and she had heard my grandmother say something pretty negative, like I never cared about that ugly girl over there, my mother, which my grandmother was talking to my mother's younger sister. And my mom told me that was destructive to her, destructive to her growing up as a child, emotionally and I guess mentally. And my mother always had the right answer. My grandmother was hostile, and she would beat the crap out of us in a heartbeat, but my mother wasn't like that. I did get a lot of spankings from her, but because I was a bad little kid, always doing things I shouldn't have been doing, up to no good. But my mom always had the right answer. She knew how to word things. She was caring, she was loving, she was affectionate with us. And I remember one day I asked my mother, I was like, "Mom, who do you love more, me or Gina?" Gina was my older sister. I was probably about 5 when I asked this question. And again, like I said, my mom always had the right answers. And she said, "Well, Edward, I don't love Gina more, but I've loved her longer." And if she would have said I love Gina more, I wasn't the type of kid that would have affected. I was like a hard little kid. I don't know how to explain it. But I remember that I knew exactly what she had done. She was trying to stop the hostility and maybe animosity that could have developed between me and my big sister, based on how I would have interpreted that or how I would have took it. So fast forward, when I joined the Army and I become a sergeant, and I get soldiers. First of all, before I even became a sergeant, I was in unit after unit where I had, sergeants in charge or platoon sergeants or even first sergeants, where they did that, they did that favoritism. They constantly show that favoritism because, oh, you're my buddy because we're from the same city or the same state, or you're my buddy because we drink together, or you're my buddy because we're the same race. Every unit I've been in that causes problems. Now you have soldiers fighting with each other, not getting along with each other, all sorts of issues. Certain groups are alienated. Now you have this group doing all the work while this group relaxes because they're friends with this guy or the same race as this guy that's in charge. And that causes so many unnecessary issues. And like I said, it alienates people. When I became a leader, I was like, I'm not going to do this. And I started to get soldiers, squads, even platoons for brief periods of time. And I prided myself on being equal with my soldiers, whether they were male and female. If a soldier said, "Hey, Sergeant, I need you to help give me some extra time off," I'd be like, "Okay, I can do that, but now you put me in a bind because I have to give that same amount of time off to everybody." I always try to find ways to give back because we take a lot from the soldiers, whether it was their time or their time with their families or their physically being basically sacrificing themselves physically for us. You know, bad knees, bad backs, all sorts of issues. You know, so I would rotate a schedule with my soldiers. I would try and let a soldier. I couldn't give days off, of course. Leadership would go crazy over that, but I would give a soldier maybe an extra hour at lunch. Try to give a soldier an extra hour off early, but I had a schedule so I could rotate these things, so I could be fair and equal. So I didn't have infighting, you know, because like I said, if you're giving one soldier too much, then all of a sudden you have other soldiers that get jealous or get angry, or, you know, all of a sudden your team isn't working as a cohesive unit anymore. People aren't getting along. So anyways, now we go to a bigger picture. Now I think with as a leader, especially of the United States, you shouldn't show your biased views. You know, if you have your personal views, that has to be kept to yourself as a leader. You can't speak out before you have all the facts. You, as a leader, you can't show your religious preferences, because now you alienate this group and now you empower this group. Even if you were to say stuff like, oh, I don't like Chinese food, I don't like Indian food, I don't like Mexican food. I've had Chinese and Indian soldiers. Now, something that little can alienate or infuriate somebody as a leader. So as a leader, you shouldn't speak out on things, especially if you don't have all the facts. And I think that's what's happened here in the United States. People have been alienated, groups have been empowered. If you're going to empower one group, empower the other group as well. You know, don't speak out before you have all the facts. I think a lot of division has been created based on those simple facts that I brought up. So hopefully the new commander-in-chief doesn't make these mistakes, and hopefully he's not biased, or he's not judgmental or speaking. I think this new commander-in-chief, being a celebrity, a businessman, he's going to need a lot of polishing up in terms of the way he talks and the way he conducts himself. But anyways, you know, I'm just some random guy with random views, but those are my personal experiences and where I picked them up and how I implemented them later on in my lifetime. And if I have children, it's going to be the same way. There will be no favoritism. You must be fair and impartial.